Hello, everybody. My name is Konstantin. I'm from a company called G Batteries, and we are a Canadian-based startup. We do not have a corporate VC arm at the moment yet, but I'm very excited to be surrounded by so many CVCs, especially when we are raising Series A ourselves. A quick note about ourselves, we have developed an intelligent battery management system that enables us to enhance performance of lithium-ion batteries. Specifically, we are applying intelligent BMS onto the next generation batteries, also known as lithium metal solid-state batteries, without the part of the solid in there. Ultimate goal is to fight the range anxiety, extend the range of electrical mobility vehicles, as well as to provide the rapid charging. I'll be around here, happy to chat with many if you're interested in electrification, which is the theme of the next session. Specifically, we're looking into designing and managing a CVC for our electric future. And I would like to welcome on stage James Macon, who's partner at Mach 49, as well as Charles Hume, who's the managing director at Southwire Technology Ventures. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay.
Hello, GCV. My name's James Macon. I'm a partner in the venture investing practice at Mach 49. We work with some of the world's most ambitious companies seeking to unlock new forms of disruptive growth. And we do that in two ways, through venture building and venture investing, program and capability development. Please come visit us downstairs in the Mark Thomas room. Our team is out and about. We'd love to meet with old friends and new. I'm honored to join the stage today with Charles Hume, the managing director of Southwire Technology Ventures. So Southwire is a leader in the North American production of cable and wire, and a very important emerging influence in many electrical markets. Southwire Technology Ventures is a CVC arm of Southwire and was founded in 2022. And their emerging portfolio of venture investments spans multiple strategic domains and markets, including digital power, e-mobility, grid of the future, and more. So welcome, Charles.
Thank you, James.
Thank you for joining us. Let's start off talking about the core. So when you're thinking about your products and services at Southwire, and if you could unpack those a little bit more for us, how do those fold into your core strategy at Southwire Technology Ventures?
Sure, absolutely. So as you said, the core of Southwire, we're a wire and cable company. We were started back in 1950 by Roy Richards. We're still a family-owned company, so the Richards family are still the stockholders. And started highly vertically integrated wire and cable company. We've branched out into electrical tools, electrical products and solutions, as well as services. And that's where we're getting into things like for utilities and software analysis and reporting. And all of that kind of informed a couple of years ago the creation of our CVC. Our company motto is we deliver power responsibly. So we were told in the charter meeting from our investment committee, anything in power delivery from generation to the load, that's what we want you all looking at, specifically in disruption. That's the number one thing we're looking for.
Excellent. So your first investment thesis was around digital power.
That's right.
The entire fund was started off in that realm. Can you describe what exactly digital power is and how that manifests in companies like your portfolio company, VoltServer, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question and one we've talked about a lot. So yes, we started in digital power, which really means the electronic control of power delivery. And the technology has changed in the past 20 years where you can use electronic and computer control in just about every aspect, from the grid to smart buildings to smart homes. And so as a wire and cable company, we saw that the type of wire that digital power uses could be very different. And there was a little bit of fear of disruption there. And so our charter, once again, well, let's be ahead of these disruptions. So let's disrupt ourselves rather than wait to be disrupted. And that's how we came about with VoltServer. So they are a very innovative company based in Rhode Island. They've invented a new type of electricity they call digital electricity, which is not AC, it's not quite DC, it's pulse DC. And it's smart enough that it can detect any fault within milliseconds, so it's touch-safe power at 330 volts, which is really an amazing accomplishment. And if you think about it, it can be revolutionary in the way that buildings are wired. Right now, Southwire is at about half of the building wire in the US. So it's very interesting to us if there's a new technology where you can use a different kind of wire that's more safe and more sustainable.
Excellent. So as you all can probably tell, Charles is an engineer's engineer. And if you could just tell us just quickly a little bit about your background. How did you come to Southwire?
So my background is in power electronics. And so for years, I was actually part of a software startup at one time, and then also a solar power startup. Also got to I worked for private and public companies. I worked for General Atomics, doing very high power conversion, and then Illinois Toolworks, and then worked for a company in Florida that was acquired by Southwire. At the time, we were working on a solar power internal startup that kind of led to an opportunity within Southwire to do business development, which originally was focused more on M&A. And then we realized, wow, you can get a lot of insights through CVC. And that really started our formal investigation into starting a CVC, which culminated in 2022.
Excellent. So you've been involved in Formula E racing, from what I understand. Your strategy around e-mobility, can you unpack that for us and maybe the connection with the racing?
Sure. So let me start. E-mobility is one of our focus areas, and a lot of opportunity there for a company like us, which we're most interested in the charging infrastructure. And as probably many people have said here today, there's so much infrastructure that needs to be built out for the EV transition. So we found Formula E, which if you're not familiar with them, it's kind of like Formula One, but all electric race cars. And the race is just as exciting, but no noise. Very different in that aspect. But it's really neat to see the forefront of electric vehicle technology. And our portfolio company, VoltServer, we partnered with them to design a custom cable and system for trackside monitoring, where their system of digital electricity really helped. And through that relationship, we've gotten to see a lot of how the technology is changing, because you see it there before you'll see it in commercial EVs.
Excellent. So let's push out a little further into the frontier. You're the leading cable and wire manufacturer in the United States. So half of the cable and wire in this building, half of the wire we're seeing outside, the transmission wire is coming from Southwire. How do you think about wireless technologies?
It's really interesting. So, when I said we're most interested in disruption, when we talk about wireless power transfer, there's not a lot that scares people more in a wire and cable company about, wow, could that really be a disruption? And so we've certainly looked into that. There's a lot of activity in wireless power transfer. But the more we've investigated it, we found out, wow, this is a great opportunity, because there's actually a lot of wires you need for wireless power transfer. We see a lot of opportunity in EV charging once again, because having a wireless power mat, like many startups are trying to do, that solves a lot of problems about vandalism, about just these pedestal cables wearing out. So we certainly have a close eye on that, and we're seeing how we can partner to help that along.
Great. So as you mentioned earlier, your vision statement at Southwire is "We deliver power responsibly." Let's unpack the word responsibly. How do your activities in the CVC actually drive your sustainability goals?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so it's very important to the culture of Southwire. And again, we're a family-owned company. The Richards family, it's very important to have a sustainable company and a responsible company. And so looking at environmental sustainability especially, that's very important to us in every deal that we do. There has to be something that helps in the sustainability angle. We believe in that as a core of Southwire, so we want to get those learnings from our startup companies as well. And so part of that is, we have a net carbon zero commitment for 2025 that we're well on our way to meeting. We also are very interested in, as I said, electric mobility, but in all aspects of renewable energy, even digital power that I talked about before. Those technologies can decrease building energy consumption by 30 to 40%. So I think all of that really feeds into our narrative of, again, we deliver power responsibly.
Got it. So shifting gears here a little bit, you have a rich history as a family-owned, privately held organization. What do you see as some of the disadvantages, the obstacles, the opportunities being a privately held co and having a CVC within?
Yeah, it's really neat. So I've had the opportunity to work for really big public companies like Illinois Toolworks and private companies like Southwire and General Atomics. And you can have great companies either way, certainly. I will say that with Southwire and a family-owned company, it's easier to have shareholder alignment in their vision. And that has been extremely important to us because the family believes in sustainability. It believes in, making Southwire a generational company, lasting another 75 years. So when you have that shareholder alignment, I think it makes it easier for people like us in the long-term, future-thinking part of the company to have kind of a constant mission statement. So it's great.
And so how do you actually measure some of the impact that you're making in sustainability and other non-financial areas? How do you measure, how do you report on that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we've been told the number one thing we are supposed to look for is insights. And that's not to say we are looking for good financial investments. We know that we have to have a good financial return. However, we don't want to do that at the expense of insights. We want to find stuff that can help steer this giant company that we've got to make better strategic decisions. So for example, if we look for a company that could be disruptive, like wireless power, like we've said, we've investigated a lot, and let's say we make an investment and there is no disruption, maybe it's not ready, that's still a successful investment in a way because we found the insight that, hey, we don't have to worry about this right now, we don't have to make massive investments to change our whole core business. So that's one way. We meet with our investment committee constantly to share insights, to classify those insights, and as well as to relay those insights back to the core business.
Fantastic. So how do you actually, let's get nitty gritty for a second around engagement with those business units. How are you disseminating your insights? And when you make deals, do you require a commercial arrangement with one of your business units in order to close? Yeah,
that's a great question. So, and I've heard that there are a lot of different philosophies on this. In our case, we do not require a commercial agreement. In some cases, it's very hard, especially if you're investing in something that's very disruptive to the core. Maybe it's not easy to have a commercial agreement right off the bat. But as far as disseminating those insights, it's an ongoing process. We have been developing relationships with different parts of the core business, and we meet with them regularly to try to share the insights that we found. Certainly, I think that on the surface, the core business really loves hearing from us because it's very interesting. They like to hear the future when you're involved in the day-to-day. It's really exciting to hear about the future. We're trying to make sure that it's exciting, but at the same time be relevant, not be too far out there that it's just not relevant to their day-to-day.
And what kind of reports do you generate? How are you literally making that communication?
Yep. So we certainly, we have an internal newsletter that's been very successful that we publish and kind of summarizes the insights. We also have an annual report. We're being very active, announcing our deals on social media. Southwire has its own social media app that we publish things internally as well as externally. And it's been very successful. A lot of people that we didn't even realize would be interested in deals will come reach out to us afterwards. So I think it's gained a lot of momentum.
Excellent. So let's talk about velocity. In this rapidly evolving technology landscape, how do you ensure that Southwire stays ahead of the curve? How do you ensure that you're sort of driving disruption versus being the one disrupted?
Yeah, it's not easy. And certainly there's an ongoing process of us getting better and increasing our velocity. One thing that Southwire has that's really great is we have subject matter experts in just about every different area. And they can give us good insights into where to look. Certainly, like from the technical side, we look at new technical papers, new technical conferences. My background in power electronics, I think it's really given us a good advantage in looking at digital power type startups in that particular area. But we have a lot of other experts in transmission, in power line, in the utility business. So that's certainly helped a lot. I think also developing relationships, frankly, with other CVCs, I'm sure that's no mystery to this crowd, that really helps us to increase our deal flow and to keep an eye on the future trends.
Fantastic. What makes you a good co-investor?
So, a lot of people haven't heard of Southwire in the general public, but in the target markets of utilities and in construction, we have a really great brand name, and we have really great relationships in the construction industry. And those are pretty hard industries to get into. They're very conservative, especially the utility market. I think what we can do and what we have done for our portfolio companies is make the introduction, provide credibility to startups, aid them in things like pilot projects. And I think if you're trying to reach that audience, it's really extremely valuable. The other thing is, having, again, a family-owned company with those sustainability objectives, that's very appealing to a lot of, especially in climate tech and renewable energy. I think that's very valuable as well.
Yeah. The construct of your steering committee, I'm interested in hearing about your take on the right size. Is the size that you have now working for you, or is there an optimal size that you would be driving towards in the future or aspire for?
So our steering committee it's about 7 members right now, and in my opinion, that's a pretty good size. It's cross-functional. We've got, our chief commercial officer chairs our investment committee, so he's helped us out tremendously. We have representatives from finance, R&D, product management, and legal. I think that's, in my opinion, about the optimal size. We can, get through our investment committee meetings, rapidly disseminate information, as well as make connections to other parts of the business. And we have such a cross-functional group, they know pretty much everybody in the company. So if they're like, oh, there's something relevant over here in a factory setting or in a different market, they can point us to that pretty quick.
And what is your deal-making decision process? Can you just sort of walk us through that from sort of start to finish?
Sure. So the first step is we make initial contact with a startup. We also, although we don't need a commercial deal, as I said before, we'd like to have at least buy-in from the commercial experts on the Southwire side that are closest to that business. That really helps a lot, and it helps give us credibility. So we like to have discussions with the core business. When we're ready, we do our investment memo, do a lot of pre-screening and due diligence. When we're ready with that, we take it to the investment committee. Depending on the size of investment we do, it can be approved right by the investment committee, or it goes to our CEO or even our board.
Mm-hmm. Any obstacles in there along the way?
I think that, as you said, we started in 2022. This is just a very new way of thinking for Southwire. We're and myself included, we were really thinking about the M&A due diligence process and what makes a good M&A candidate when we first started. And I think for our team, as well as our investment committee, I think learning maybe the different things that you're looking for when you're not like bolting on the company, but you're looking for insights from that company and develop a relationship with that company. It's a different mindset when you're improving investments as well as you're doing due diligence. So that's been a really exciting learning process for myself and our investment committee. And I think every deal we do, it's getting a lot smoother, and I think we're understanding a lot better.
So you're still at the start of your journey. Is there any sort of guidance or insights that you would lend to others who are contemplating getting into the CVC game, starting up a new unit to make venture investments?
I think that the biggest challenge that we've seen is more in a big company like ours is getting to know the company really well and developing that buy-in from the core business units. Because again, it's a new way of thinking for the core business as well, and thinking, okay, well, are we gonna buy this company? Well, no, not necessarily, but could they help you out in insights or in a partnership? I think that was a bigger task than we originally suspected. We do have a full-time portfolio development manager that's helping us out a lot with that. And I think as we learn more what appeals to our core business, it's helped that. Yeah.
Let's just talk about your team construct for a second. How many folks are on your team, and what are you sort of growing towards to achieve balance?
So we have 4 members right now. We're going to expand another member this year. Of the 4, 2 are more into the pipeline and due diligence. 1 is more on the portfolio development side, as I said. Mm-hmm. But there's quite an overlap there. There's, if you will, like a Venn diagram where there's an overlap where portfolio development is also in the pipeline and vice versa. And I think that's one of the most exciting things. I feel like for our team, we get the best of the best from Southwire. When we have an open position, people think it's really interesting, and especially when you have great knowledge of the organization, you can be a great fit for our team as well. We're going to hire another position this year. It's probably going to be a blend of both the portfolio management and pipeline too.
Right. So you all are based in Atlanta, Georgia. You have a very strong presence there. One of the things you do is actually implement the technologies you're investing in into your own facilities.
That's
that
right.
seems like an important component to your deal-making process and the engagement with these companies. Any examples you wanted to bring up or further thought on that?
Sure, yeah. So we're actually based in Carrollton, which nobody's heard of that, but it's about an hour away from Atlanta. We have a brand new office in Atlanta right by the Brave Stadium. We decided to get our portfolio companies involved in this office complex. So that office complex has lighting completely by digital power, and one of our portfolio companies, Sinclair Digital, makes DC buildings. And so they designed the lighting system there all over power over Ethernet, and that's the technology that powers lights over an Ethernet cable. It was very interesting to us because, hey, if the wiring industry goes to Ethernet cable, that would be a huge disruption. So we wanted to see that here, try it out, and it's been a great success for us.
Excellent. Well, that's our time. Thank you so much to GCV and everyone, and join me in thanking Charles Hume and Southwire Technology Ventures.
Thank you.
Thank you.